Have you connected? Then
Okay,
yes.
just so you know, we're recording now.
Actually, I think this person is reaching out to me today, but oh, I know who that is.
Okay.
That is the lawyer. So
Okay.
it's my contact.
The echo. Ay, el eco.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our guest speaker today is going to be Kwame. He is from Aspire Business Network, and he helps international students get placed in universities here, but also find jobs here in South Bend and in Southern Michigan. So he's actually based in Berrien Springs, and I'm sure he'll tell you more about that. So Kwame is going to tell us today about attracting foreign talent to your business. I also want to let people know that the city of South Bend has recently launched the High Skill Immigration Fund, which is this is a series that's part of our High Skilled Immigration Fund about educating employers and students on hiring international talent and finding employment as an international talent. So joining us, we have Kwame. We also have Ambrose from our team on the City of South Bend side. He's an Unfocused Fellow with us. So please, any questions that you may have, you can feel free to put in the chat. At the end of the presentation, we'll give you a couple of minutes to ask questions. I'm also going to put the link to the High Skill Immigration Fund in the chat because we've now opened our applications for the fund itself to help businesses cover the cost of applying for H-1B visa. So if you are a business who applied for H-1B visa this year for hiring a foreign or an international talent, then you may be eligible if your business is based in South Bend or if your employee lives in South Bend. So please check out southbend.in.gov/HSIF for more information. And I will just turn it over to Kwame to begin.
Thank you very much, Ali, for the introduction. And I'd like to thank the mayor for making this opportunity possible. My name is Kwame Ntrifempong, as Ali said, and I work for a company called Aspire Business Network that's based in Bering Springs, Michigan. I've been a resident of Michiana since 1999, so I've been here for a pretty long time. I started this business in 2011, and we started recruiting, I think, intensively between 2014 2015. So let's begin the slide. So I'm going to be talking about how employers can take advantage of the mayor's initiative of supporting employers to find the talent that they need, including foreign talent that are already available in this country. So our company has a few subsidiaries. We have the ABN Financial Services that we've used. It used to be a general financial services company, but now we've kind of limited our services into the scope of helping international students because it turns out their financial needs tend to be a little different. We have consulting services. We have an energy company that we use to import auto and aviation lubricants to the West African region. And then we have our Skills Hub, which is where we are functioning today. The Skills Hub was created to help employers, help our students transition from using our products, our scholarships, our grants, and things of that nature into finding work. So we train people, we get them ready, we screen them, and then we hand them over to employers. So today we are going to talk about some of the things that we have experienced over the years, some of the questions that people have asked, the things that we believe that if employers focus on, they will be able to get the talent that they need that will be good for the company and the place that they work and be helpful overall. So the first thing that most people ask is about safety. When we are talking to whether it's students or workers who are outside the country, or the people who have been educated here, have done their bachelor's or their master's or PhDs here, and they are looking for opportunities beyond school, people want to make sure that they are going to a place where if they are different, they are not treated differently, and that safety is a concern to the host city or the place where they are going to work. So people want to make sure that there are measures that are put in place to protect them specifically. And of course, I think it is a need that we all have. Wherever we decide to go as human beings, we want to make sure that we are going to be safe. Are the authorities there active and helpful when they have an issue? Can they call 911, or are they prohibited from doing those type of things, which, as I said earlier, is a need for all human beings? What is the crime rate? People often kind of ask that because they want to make sure they're not walking into bees' hornets and make sure that they are going to be safe. Will it be okay for them to just take walks with their families without any issues or things of that nature? So safety is of a big concern when we are recruiting people and when we are trying to place them with employers. Of course, as a company, it is also important for us because we usually don't want to take people to places where we know they're not going to be safe. So safety and how authorities react to safety concerns is a big deal. for a lot of people. Company culture. When people come to school here, and I know this fund that is available is for mostly for people who are educated here and trying to keep them in this locality. So people want to know if they have job training. People are from different cultures. They come into the country, and they are not sure if when they start working, if they will be able to get the type of training that they need in order to be able to be successful. Of course, when people come from other countries and they come to school here, they only know working on campus, right? Most people only know how it feels to work on campus. So if we are telling them that an employer in South Bend, Indiana wants to work with them, they want to make sure that when they start working, they have on-the-job training. They want to make sure that there's cultural awareness. And I think people get stuck when we talk about that. Nobody wants to go to a place and try to tell people to change their ways and means to follow them. They just want to make sure that the employer there is aware that they are different. They may dress a bit differently. They may, warm up. The food they warm up is a bit different. But that people acknowledge that and respect that. So I've never in my recruitment life had someone who said, I want to go there and change the culture of the company. That really is never an issue. It's just that people want to make sure that where they're going, people understand that not all human beings are the same and that there may be some differences, in how people may go about things. And then is there room for career progression? When people go to places, of course, if you are looking for a job, you want to know if when you work hard and you follow the company's policies and you do what you need to do, when the promotion is available, that you can apply for it. People want to make sure that they are not going to a place where they are going to be stuck where they started. So one of the main concerns people have is if when they start working and they do what they're supposed to do, when an opportunity comes, they will be able to take advantage of it. Pay scale in relation to cost of living. We recruit for companies around the country. Just yesterday, we had a company in California that needed 30 people as soon as possible. And, even though the rate was high, when I was talking to people, one of the biggest concerns was this is California. So it doesn't matter how much more you are getting paid. They had concerns that they still won't be able to afford the life in California. So the point is not necessarily that the pay has to be too much or you have to pay them more than the people who work there. They just want to make sure that what you are giving them in relation to the cost of living in the area, which I know most employers already do that. They do due diligence, make sure that they are paying people livable wages. They just want to make sure that the wages they are receiving will be enough for them to be able to live that life and be able to save some money and be able to take care of, every day, the things that people need to do on a daily basis. So pay scale in relation to cost of living. If you are hiring international talent, they don't expect you to pay them more. They just want you to give them fair wages like you do other people who work in the same company. And cultural awareness, you have to be transparent of the benefits and the insurance packages that you give people. This is a very sensitive issue, and I just wanted to highlight that amongst other benefits. But when people come from other countries, insurance works very differently in other jurisdictions. We had a student who came from the United Kingdom, and her understanding of health insurance was very different from how it's done in this country. I was born and raised in Ghana. How insurance works in Ghana is much different from how it works here. Usually when you start working in a company, and this has happened to me before, you are given a packet and you are asked to kind of choose the insurance package that works best for you. But what we don't realize is that it's one of the most confusing things in the world, right? So the point I'm making here is not that you create one size fits all insurance package for people, but you need to explain it because we live in a very competitive employment. The realities of finding people to work is being a bit um, hard these days. You hire people and they quit the next day. So if you hire someone and you want to keep them long term, it is important that some of these minor details you are able to explain to them. So when HR is making an offer, it will be important to explain this little thing to you because if you don't, someone else somewhere may decide that may be able to take them away from your company just by explaining that little portion to them. So the company's culture should include making sure that even the benefits that you are giving to the people, they have a fair understanding so that they can make the best decision for them. And I think when employees are able to make good decisions, it has a reflection on overall performance of the company. So making sure that you explain some of these processes to your employees is very important and is a way to get people to come and work in your company. School systems. Usually when we recruit people, as I said earlier, they come and they go into school. Now they're done with school, they are looking for work. A lot of people, even me looking at our company and the people that we bring to this country to go to school, a lot of them have families. And the ones who don't have families intend to have families, down the line. So people want to make sure that the community that they're going to has options for them, right? It doesn't mean you have to have all the schools in that area be grade A or, things that you think that people may want to hear. However, they would like to have options. So if this school doesn't work for them, they need to be able to go to that school. People want their families to feel comfortable. We have F1 students who come and then their spouses are F2s. When they graduate and they are working, sometimes it's a good opportunity for the spouse to also go to school. Sometimes they have children that they come with. They want the children to also be able to access America's beautiful education system. So one of the consistent questions that we ask is, does the community has a good public school system, or if the public school system, are there other options that they can tap into? So it's a very important thing for employers to highlight when they are trying to hire international and foreign staff. I would like to share a few videos of some of the people that we've dealt with and some of their expectations, and so that you hear directly from people who could potentially be people that you could be working with in the very near future. So if I can just play this, I think how do I go about that? Say it again.
Is it mute?
Yeah, we've just muted it. Should I unmute it? So let me. Okay, so I apologize for I think we're having a sound issue, and so luckily enough, the lady who was supposed to be in the video, who now works as my assistant, she's doing her CPT, which is something that a person can do, an international student can do when they are still in school with our company. So I will let her, give her testimony and her expectations so that you can actually hear her. So Michelle.
Hello, everyone. As I have been introduced, my name is Michelle Larby. I am a student of Andrews University studying international business and data science as a minor. I think as an international student, whenever I'm attracted to a company, it has to do, first of all, with the welcome nature of the company. A lot of people, I guess, don't have much awareness of what it is like to work with international students, and so they seem to pose some hesitance or some hesitation. However, with Aspire, they're always very understanding of my diverse cultural background, so that is something I do really appreciate. In addition to that, I do want to learn to grow, expand what I've learned in school. Coming from a different culture, you're kind of learning things in a different light across the board entirely, not only in the professional space, but also in the personal space. So I appreciate an environment that encourages me to develop myself and do better constantly. Also, this means that I look for a place that will not stifle me or limit my potential or benefits because I'm an international student. So that's what I would say I appreciate in general about working or looking out for companies. Generally, yeah, it also goes back to some of the things that have been mentioned in the presentation earlier, feeling safe, and also being allowed to learn. Sometimes when there's not a lot of understanding with my different cultural background, that can feel a little intimidating, scary when people just don't understand. But when a company creates an environment where it's very welcome and everyone is open to express themselves, I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Michelle, for that. I think sometimes technology can be like that. The other person who was also going to talk about his expectations. Now, Michelle is doing her first degree, so undergraduate. So I have another graduate level person who also graduates in a couple of months, and I would like for him to also share what his expectations are. And we have it recorded, but obviously we're having some issues, so I will let him do it since he's here live.
All right. Thank you, Kwame. So my name is Christopher Opon Ampedukakwa. I am an international student who came to United States through Aspire Business Network. I'm a graduate student in my final year, and I'll be graduating in December, God willing. So after graduation, I'm available for OPT. And then probably after that, looking forward for any employer to employ me so that I can at least take what I learned here in the United States and practice it here as well. So Kwame has already said a lot about our expectations as international students, especially looking about security-wise, and then advancing career and all that. So as a graduate student studying Masters in Business Administration with my concentration in accounting and finance, like I said already, after graduation, I'm available for OPT, and then looking forward to get an employer who will employ me so that I can work for that employer for a long term. Basically, that's what I'm expecting. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. And I think these are some of the expectations that we hear from people. The last presenter, unfortunately, is not here, but that person is someone who has already graduated and is doing his OPT. And I actually wanted to really share his story, so I think I'll give it to Ambrose for we find a way to share it with the people who are here. He was trained locally at a university in Bering Springs, Michigan. And when he graduated, he wanted to stay here because, he has his friends here and he knows this area. But unfortunately, even though the career he chose is in high demand and there are people, there are employers looking for people with his skill, he still couldn't find a job locally. And so he had to eventually look for work outside of this region. We found a job for him in Ohio. So now he works in a hospital in Ohio where they are sponsoring his visa. So he is doing his OPT, which is something that you can do. The government allows you to work for a year, sometimes 2 years if it's STEM related. And at that time, the employer reviews and evaluates how the person works, see if they like them, and then they can offer them permanent placement, which they do the H-1B. That sometimes leads to a green card. So sometimes I think there are a lot of misconceptions. People think that it's undoable, it's undurable, it's expensive, and so they kind of let these people go. But I actually think it's unfortunate for someone who has actually been through the process. I have a relatively small company, and I've been able to do CPT before. I've been able to do OPT before. And our small company, believe it or not, has been able to process H-1Bs for people also before. Not that we process, I'm not a lawyer, but we have had someone who has been a beneficiary of H-1B through our company. So it is very doable. Actually, when you hire people who are looking for work, of course, if we had local talent, then we wouldn't have to worry about foreign talent. But in the absence of that, when you have access to people who have had American education already in the country and are willing to work for you, they tend to actually stay long term. Okay, they actually tend to stay long term because most of the people actually see it as you doing them a favor by hiring them and sponsoring them. That language is understood. So assuming that all things are equal, that they are treated fairly, they get livable wages, and they actually tend to be a good investment in the long run. So I think we've kind of walked through what the expectations are, what our experience has been with regards to the people that we've worked with who have been beneficiaries of different services, the people who have done internships, which is the CPT, the people who have done the OPT, which is after graduation, and the people who have been able to segue into doing the H-1B and eventually getting a green card and being able to work permanently. So I think at this point, we can, did you want me to play the video now? Is it working? So at this point, we can go into the question and answering, and then if anybody has a question, I'll be more than happy to address it and take it from there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kwame, for that presentation. We have opened, the chat up for any questions. So if anyone wants to unmute themselves and just ask a question, feel free to do that as well. And we will post the videos and the presentation along with this recording on the website southbendin.gov/HSIF. Feel free to chime in if you have any questions.
Just
Sure. So thank you for that. And we have schools that we have official relationships with, which are the ones who have asked us to recruit students for them, right? And then we have students who reach out to us and say, I want to go to this school that is out of your coverage, but you can assist us with the application process. And so we really don't discriminate when it comes to if a person reaches out to us and says, we want to go to this school, whether we have a relationship with them or not, we can help them with the application process. As far as what we do is, in this May alone, we have about 27 students graduating. And a lot of these people are going to be available for work, right? Most of the interest we've had with regards to people wanting to work with them have been outside of the Michiana area. I mean, I don't even think we have an employer in South Bend asking for any of these talents. But based on the relationship we've established with these people, we know that most of them would like to stay here because they already know the area. Some of them have spent 4 years here. Some of them have spent 2 years doing a master's. Some of them may have spent even longer time here. They may not have biological family here, but they've developed other relationships in the community, so they would like to stay. But unfortunately, majority of them will go to other places. A few years ago, I think I'll use Prince's example again, the gentleman who ended up in Ohio. He was in an industry where he was really needed, right? He did medical lab science. I know a lot of the healthcare facilities in the region, they need people, but unfortunately, because we didn't really have any relationships and all the attempts we made to try to place them in this area kind of failed because we just didn't have that opportunity, so he ended up in Ohio. We have other people coming. We have, as I said, we have CPT. So if, let's say, you're not too sure, you can start there. You can start with a CPT where the person is doing some type of internship. So they get introduced to your company and you get introduced to them and see if, you can establish a relationship. When they are done with school, if they liked the internship, it is very likely that they'll consider you for the OPT, which will be the next step. So you work with them for about a year, you build on that relationship, and if you continue to enjoy the relationship, then you can take the steps. And I think what the mayor's office is doing by trying to help people actually pay for the process, I mean, you can't beat that offer. And I think it's actually a low risk thing to do. We have a lawyer that we work with based in the Washington, D.C. area, and I actually see that she's joined the meeting, and all the applications that we've sent to her to kind of probe, and that it's been 100% success rate. So sometimes I think there's a misconception that the process is too tedious, which is not. That is too expensive, which I think it depends on how you want to define expensive. Because I think whatever the initial investment may be, if you can have someone working for you for about 5 years in exchange for the initial investment, I think is valuable in this environment where you hire somebody and the next month they don't want to work for you anymore. So we are able to find the talent, screen the talent, and help you place the talent. That is what we can do in this regard. Thank you for the question.
Thank you so much, Kwame. And someone in the chat did ask about learning more about hiring, the process of hiring international students. And I'll just mention as well that we did a webinar on that. It wasn't recorded, but we do have the presentation up, and that was presented by a lawyer. So there's not, real legal advice there, but there is a good PowerPoint about the different kinds of visas and employer sponsorship or other kind of work visas that international talent can access to be able to work here. We have someone else is typing, so I'll just wait to see if that's a question for us. Oh yeah, great. So Janelle did type their email address or their website and their phone number. So if anybody has legal questions, you can reach out to Janelle. And if that's all the questions that people have, we can just go ahead and wrap up. If you have any questions for Kwame, his email is on the screen. My email is in the chat. And Ambrose has also linked our website in the chat to find out more information. And we thank you all so much for coming, and thank you so much, Kwame, and your team for coming in today and for presenting this to us.
Thank you.
All right, well, have a great day, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us.